Hi everyone, how's it going? I am Jeff from CGM and previously also from my YouTube page known as Continuum Script. This is just a random recording.
Yep.
Uh, Today I'm going to talk to my friend Ben about who are Franklin and Valeria Richards.
Yes.
And this is important. Well, it's kind of important for me because we had a random conversation a couple of days ago, and he said something about Moon Girl. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And how she was like very prominent like a couple of years ago, and I guess is now still. And how she hung out with Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, and Benjamin J. Grimm, the Thing from the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And I said something about Valeria Richards actually met her recently in the new Fantastic Four comic, which is not really new. It's been out for now a year, going on 2 years. Um, and you said who was Valeria Richards, which surprised me because I really thought everyone knew who these characters were.
My bad.
That's fine. I mean, she's pretty. I mean, technically, she's been. I mean, she was more of a secondary background character, being the second child to Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, and Invisible Woman, Sue Richards, or Sue hyphen or Sue quotation mark Storm Richards, and
Uh,
hmm?
oh yeah, that thing.
Yes. She, as I said, she's the second child of those two, and their first child is Franklin Benjamin Richards.
Yes.
So I'm gonna ask you, do you know who Franklin Richards is at least?
I think I saw him like once or twice in really old comics.
When he was a kid?
I think it was like Spider Girl spin-off different reality thing.
Ah, like Ultimate Universe?
Yes.
I see. Well, here's an FYI, people. Franklin Richards was born sometime, which I don't know, sometime maybe in the late 60s, early 70s of his creation, and he's always been the first young child of Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman. His relative age throughout the years back in when Marvel was in the 80s and 90s was like 5 years old. Then an interesting thing happened that he got himself a little sister, which goes into a complicated history because it's really more dimensional travel by the child who can do anything he wants with his omnipotent power. Dealt with a different reality, stillbirth, and Valeria being raised by a different Invisible Woman, and a Doctor Doom who hooked up with Invisible Woman and having Valeria. It's very complicated because comics, but pretty much all you need to know. Eventually, Valeria is able to become reborn again in the Invisible Woman's body in this current continuity, and the thing is, it was a complicated birth because Sue's radioactive blood causes some havoc when it comes to giving birth to kids, sadly. And the person who was able to give birth to Valeria was Doctor Doom, who required a price, and his price was I get to name your child Susan Richards or Sue because they do know each other somewhat or whatever. And he named her Valeria from I believe, his first love. I believe. You still there?
I have no idea what the fuck is going on. Although for some reason I feel like I've seen part of this comic.
That's good. At least you're kind of still with me. Remember, I'm just giving you trying to give you a basic explanation who Valeria and maybe Franklin is.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, quick question. Do you know who Doctor Doom is?
Yes.
Good. He he helped Sue give birth to Sue's baby because Reed was away.
was also maybe snatched from another dimension. Also maybe died 4 times, and is also maybe Victor's kid, and it's also blah 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 blah.
No, no, actually, this was a rebirth, as in, I could go into I could really go into the explanation of that complication behind Valeria's birth, if you want me to.
I don't think I want you to.
That's why I'm giving you, trying to give you the abridged version. There was a story behind a teenage Valeria Von Doom coming to this reality, and she was really Reed and Sue's child, but she was raised in a different dimension due to Franklin's omnipotent powers. Because when Sue about was pregnant for a second time in the continuity of Marvel at the time, she was stillborn, and this caused her to be going this caused Sue to go into a depressive state, and which made her easily manipulated into the hate mongers thing, which revolved around her becoming Malice, Mistress of Hate. It was a story in the 80s, was very entertaining. It was touched on in the Fantastic Four cartoon in 1995, which was awesome. um
So wait, this isn't a multiverse thing. This is a timeline thing.
Something like that, yes.
Okay, so ridiculous power young boy thing undoes everything, makes it right again.
Something like that, because when she was really stillborn, due to Sue's radioactive love, he unconsciously used his omnipotent powers with a character from the Eternals or something named Mamania, I think, or something that guards the multiverse. She was able to help Franklin guide the soul of his not born sister into a different reality where Sue.
Internet connection.
Hmm?
Oh,
Hmm?
I think there might have been an internet connection problem where on my end
Okay.
you completely stopped talking, and it was appropriate because that's how much of this I'm getting.
Oh, okay. What I mean,
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm getting it. It's just like it's it's
complicated.
I'm gonna say not important. I mean, it is complicated, but I was only upset by it because I thought it was something like we're glossing over the story because it's uncomfortable and it's sort of weird writing that we want to forget about, but it's not. It's
No, it's
actually
not
just
really
like
weird writing. It's just a lot of
it's
words
just
within it.
really complicated and you have to read a bunch of different comics. It was like the late 90s, early 2000s stereotypical comic writing where it was like just so many things are happening and
Yes.
they're all really lofty and complicated.
Yes.
And I say mid 90s, early 2000s, but DC sort of like, as far as I understand, I don't really read many DC, so I could be totally just being I don't know, biased and using stereotypical information. There's a word for that, but I can't remember.
Okay.
Prejudice? Um, but yeah, it seems Marvel is known more for like more grounded stories, as grounded as superhero stories.
Yes.
But it seems they also dip their hands in the high thought process, convoluted plot storyline
They do.
where there are people with names that are as long as a sentence with no vowels in them. Uh, so yeah, but no, I get it for the most part.
Cool, because teenage Valeria, named Valeria Von Doom Richards, she walks into this universe sometime in the late '90s, doing Chris Claremont's run, claiming to be the daughter of Sue Richards, and Victor Von Doom caused a lot of grief for the characters at point, because Reed was still around, and it made everyone question how would Sue ever hook up with Doctor Doom when he's caused us so much grief. It was a complicated issue, but they kind of resolved the issue about Valeria being like, she can still be our child, and we do love her, after a particular story where Susan rejected her, but then she realized that even whatever the future holds, she is still my child, and I will protect her, and she does. And they kind of resolve their issues with the knowledge that, but is she really Victor and my in my is it really Victor's and my child, or is it somehow Reed and my child? Because there's a hint that she really could be Reed's, but we just don't know how it happened. But Valeria sticks around for a couple of years before the Abraxas saga of Fantastic Four, which I have not much knowledge of because during that time I was pretty infrequent with reading Fantastic Four at the time, and I got like the Paramount issue where the Abraxas thing was resolved with Franklin giving up his powers and Valeria, teenage Valeria, to give up their powers and maybe Valeria's existence to bring back Galactus, who was dead at the time. Don't ask me how that happened. And Galactus came back, kicked Abraxas' ass, and then there was an instant reboot. Everyone, all the Fantastic Four were wondering what happened after that flash of light, and then Susan comes, walks in, and saying, "Hey, what's everyone doing?" And then they all look a gap, like what? And then she says, "What? You've never seen a woman pregnant before?" And she is pregnant with a now, uh, with a now reborn Valeria. She is pregnant with Valeria now for a new second time. Please say something. What's wrong?
I it's just so convoluted and weird.
Yeah, well, I think
And my brain is like, I don't like it. But like my brain is also like, maybe if I read the story from start to finish, that could actually be like a pretty satisfying thing. It's like, oh no, they killed off my favorite emo character girl. How could they? It's like, and now she gets to be rebooted in a sort of not nearly as obnoxious circumstance. And
yes.
it's resolved all of our really complicated bullshit with more complicated bullshit and stop thinking about it. And maybe that could be catharsis and good
Mm.
writing. But I don't have all the information. And it's just like hearing about it secondhand is like, what the hell are you talking about?
So yeah, Susan's pregnant again with her second child,
Okay.
and it's actually discovered that Reed is the father of Valeria.
Susan's pregnant again with her second, third child.
Really, second child, complications. I mean, when your son is an omega level mutant who unconsciously uses his power sometimes, that he can do whatever he wants and move the.
Wait a minute, wait a minute. Is he Haruhi Suzumiya?
He's better than Haruhi Suzumiya.
I've never actually watched Haruhi Suzumiya, so
We're gonna have to work on that.
but is his power just like passively restructuring the fucking universe?
Yes, in a way, but only in a way that affects his family in a way.
Huh. That's weird, but
Not
interesting.
mean I'm pretty much glossing over what Franklin is. He is an Omega level mutant. He was one of the more powerful mutants in the 90s and is still considered very top tier. And but he has a tendency, but usually his powers burn out to make him a normal child after this Abraxas era of like around the
Alright.
early 2000s. So he burnt out his powers, trying reviving Galactus, and Valeria gets a new life with her original parents.
Alright.
And she has, and currently, and from what I understand, she has no memory of that Valeria Von Doom.
Alright.
Yeah.
Uh that seems like a good time for a break, mostly because people are calling for me. I hope it's not picking up on the audio.
Okay. I can stop, or I can continue
Alright.
talking. You can go.
Uh alright. I guess I might just be gone for a second. So sure, I'll just put the phone down. Hopefully nothing weird happens on this end.
Okay.
Alright, I'll be right back.
All right. So while Ben is doing that, I will try to continue. So the Abraxas era of Fantastic Four was pretty much around the early 2000s, from what I understood. given what I have read of that, and again, I don't know the full story on behind that except for the ending. But now Reed and Sue and the rest of Fantastic Four, they got like now two kids: Franklin Richards, who's probably 5 years old, and Valeria Richards, who was a baby, and throughout the years she grows up to be like 2 or 3 years old, more or less. And it is learned that she is very smart at first. No one knew how deep it went. She's actually a flipping genius. By 3 years old, she says and claims that she is smarter than her father and her Uncle Doom, quote unquote, because, I mean, Doom, say what you will about Doctor Doom, Valeria does care for her Uncle Doom more and stuff, and he does care for her because he did name her. They got that connection, and she's a fucking genius, and he's a genius, and he does know that she can be more practical than her brother, who he does seem to care for in his own way too. I mean, say what you will about Doctor Doom, he would never intentionally harm the Richards children. He has a grudge against Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben, but he would never really intentionally hurt their kids, more or less. Um, there is a storyline when Valeria is a baby before she is a genius that when he helped Sue give birth to Valeria, he placed a spell on her, and he she became his medium. And her first words were doom, and a lot of shit happened. Franklin was cascaded into hell. She was captured by demons or something unintentionally or whatever, and all the Fantastic Four were spread across all of hell, being tormented with their with they were tormented with having one of each other's powers, essentially. Reed was able to finally Reed was able to get them all out of it and save Franklin from hell, but it caused some mental damage with him that he couldn't believe in anyone because he was literally pulled into hell. And it didn't leave no lasting effects with Valeria though. And there was a story, and there's like some comics that go into that, but he's able to eventually shake it off and deal with it emotionally well with his mom and Uncle Ben. What else? I know there's a couple of others. There's also that nonsense with the scroll war, the scroll invasion, but that's a tie-in. But the real meat and potatoes of it is currently after during the Fantastic Four era of when they were going to get their final issues due to more or less bureaucracy that Disney or Marvel didn't have the rights, film rights to the Fantastic Four or X Men, so they were trying to like erase them from history. So let's just not deal with them anymore for now. Give them a little hurrah party and end it. Their last comic arc for the Fantastic Four is called "The End Is Forever." It was all right, but they introduced a bad guy character who pretty much essentially says, "I was the one to be the cause of everything." He is not. I'm telling you this right now. He had no bearing on it whatsoever. He has pretty much in comics he has not even been mentioned once after this. When the Fantastic Four came back due to Dan Slott later when they got the rights back, they brought back the Fantastic Four. But all you need to know, the end is forever. Overall bad guy dude who claimed to be the manipulator behind everything. That's bullshit. Don't believe that. That is not really that ending is not really canon. He was a pretender. I don't acknowledge it. Moving on. Then Secret Wars happened, and for whatever reason, that was going to be the Fantastic Four swan song because all of the entire multiverse was destroyed due to incursions. The Avengers were a part of it, and a little bit of the X-Men and other random heroes. Some heroes got into a ship. Shit happened. A lot of people were killed. Doctor Doom gained universal power by the Beyonders or something. He gained power. He tried to save whatever realities he could. He made a Doom world or some shit like that. And then it was gonna, but of course, eventually, like all kingdoms, it was going to fall to pieces because, lo and behold, some of the heroes that survived the incursions were alive, and they were going to find a way to try to bring everything back to normalcy. And it was just more complicated, a little bit more complicated, but they kind of get the ending they want. The last issues end with Reed fighting Doom, and Doom acknowledging that Reed, you have been a bane in my existence, and I cannot let this stand. And then Reed's like Victor, if you wanted to save everything, you could have done it, but you didn't. You chose to just give up on people and make the choice yourself, pretty much. And what Reed's getting at, we what he's getting at, Doom did not believe and tried to save everything he could, but Reed stance is he would have tried to save everything. And Doom finally acknowledges that, yes, damn it, you're better than me with that, because you would have tried to save everything. I'm kind of abridging because it's been a long minute since I've read Secret Wars, but that's pretty much the gist of it. He acknowledges that Reed, in his own way, Reed is superior to him. He hates it, it annoyed him, but he acknowledges it. And then eventually, the Beyonder takes back his power. I don't want to get into that shit. If you really want to talk, listen to another YouTuber or whatever. Everything goes to white, and then we realize that the multiverse is somewhat established again, more or less, and the universe is back to being whole, except for a couple of changes. Miles Morales is in the main universe now, and Reed and Sue, with Franklin and Valeria and the kids of the Future Foundation, they are going to decide to rebuild the multiverse. That is how that Fantastic Four have the last story and meet their end. And the reason behind that is Reed has access to the Beyonder's powers, or I'm sorry, not Beyonder, Molecular Man's powers, who's like the anchor, while Franklin is the imagination with his omnipotent power to create the multiverse and redistributes it. So they're all gonna travel the ship and try to rebuild the multiverse. It's kind of really not really touched on in these past couple of years. I could be wrong because I'm not like comic heavy like a lot of other comic YouTubers. I'm just trying to discuss about Franklin and Valeria, and I am. But the surprising thing is when we see them again in Dan Slott's era of Fantastic Four that came out in 19? So it's been like almost
I have returned.
cool.
I've
Um,
also been listening for a bit. Now that we're talking about Secret Wars, why did they leave Johnny and Ben behind?
That's the thing. They left Johnny and Ben behind because Reed, in all his wisdom, quote unquote, said they probably wouldn't have enjoyed it, and that they like superheroing far too much, and that as much as he knows that the Fantastic Four have aided in humanity and be like these pioneers into the unknown, he's a scientist, and Sue might have gotten it with the kids. They wanted to learn, but he assumed Johnny and Ben were going to be bored with the science talk, and he
It
just
was a
says
terrible fucking idea.
yes,
Every
yes,
time you see Johnny and Ben after that for the next like 2 years, they're just really sad.
yes, it is. Marvel fucked them over hard. Yes,
So it's like they get back and it's like, hey, it's like, oh, hey, Reed, I fucking hate you right now. It's like, what? I thought you would be bored. It's like, yeah, but we missed you. It's like, ah, I didn't think about that. It's like,
they
oh, you never fucking do.
Yes, Reed. As much as I like Reed and everything, he always comes out short when it comes to the emotional aspects of his teammates and family's feelings. He knows what's good for them, which is not true because I think my exchange between Ben and Reed, which was in 2-1, was that Reed. You made the choice for us. You assumed that we would not have liked to go with you, but you don't get to make that choice. We didn't see any of the kids grow up. We lost that time with them, and we thought you were dead. And I can't forgive you for that. And Reed does not acknowledge that he was a heel.
Yeah, that was a bad. That was a bad decision.
It was. I mean, granted, he should have taken Johnny and Ben with him because at least they would have been together.
You,
I don't think that we. I don't think they would have been bored because they would have the kids, all the kids of the. They would have Val and Frank and the Future Foundation with them. They would have all been together. Reed was arrogant and an asshole for assuming that they wouldn't have enjoyed like the science of rebuilding the multiverse.
I just didn't think he'd want to come with us. We lived in the same house for 30 years by
Yes,
choice.
yeah, and we are like the godparents. Like I'm like a spirit. I'm a spiritual uncle to your kids who I love dearly too, and Johnny lost his way. He became like a fucking Avenger. What the fuck was up with that? He hooked up with Rogue for 5 seconds.
I think he hooked up with literally everybody for literally 5 seconds.
Yes, because apparently I think there's a rumor. There could be a secret rumor going on that he really could be gay, but I don't know. I don't think so. That's beside the point.
Um, Crap. What was I gonna say? Oh no, I was going to comment that I feel like Ben Grimm being like spiritual uncle could aptly define his relationship with literally everyone.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. It just seems like that's what he does every time.
Yeah,
At
but
least that's
go
what
ahead.
happened in Moon Girl because he was just sort of like, I don't know. I guess he heard about her and he's just sort of like, he did it in a way that sounded very nice. But if you're going to be like less nice about it and more abrupt about it, he's like, I heard you're like Reed, so I'm here to see if you turn out like Reed or Victor.
Mm,
And then he's like, eventually, he's like, you're going to turn out like neither of them, which is good.
yes, Reed and Doom are both extremes of genius. And
Yes.
um, speaking of which, I should clarify that the Ben is the godfather to Franklin and of course and Valeria, I believe, more or less.
So wait, Johnny's not a godfather to either of them?
No, that's their uncle.
Right. That makes sense.
Yes,
I forgot that he was related, like
yes, he's
straight
blood
up
related.
related.
Yeah, he's blood related to Sue. That's her little brother.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I
Oh yeah,
guess.
the other thing I wanted to bring up was you were talking about Secret Wars. I only
Yes,
really read spin-offs of Secret Wars, like those 20 or so comics that were about like the pockets of Secret Wars.
yes,
And I was talking about it because basically I've been into looking at fighting games a bunch recently, mostly like the Marvel versus Capcom ones,
yes.
primarily because of the YouTuber Maximilian Dude and because of my PSN friend Demon talking about these things like they were like the best thing ever. And I'm like, I've never played these.
The
So
best,
I
the best crossovers between Marvel and X and Marvel and Capcom is X-Men versus Street Fighter, Marvel versus Capcom 1 and maybe 2, but I believe it's just Street Fighter, X-Men and then Marvel versus Capcom are the top tier best fighting games under that title.
I'll take your word for it because I've never played any of these games.
I did them back in my heyday. They were fucking awesome. I mean,
Nice.
I could pretty much kick some ass with well, depending on the characters, I could kick ass with Cammy White and Rogue because she was awesome, and Sakura, Ryu, Ken, Chun Li, Cyclops. But
Cool.
then again, that's just spamming their fucking attacks though, because easy, everyone spams attacks.
Yep. But the most recent Capcom game that people didn't like, which was Infinite, I was watching videos of Max just kind of riffing on the video on the story. It came out recently,
Yes,
and I realized they basically just copy pasted the story from Secret Wars.
pretty much, yes.
And I was discussing that with you and Dan, and one thing that I was talking about how it's a long story to get to a small point. I do this all the time, and I'm trying to see if I can not do it.
Okay.
No, I can't think of when not doing it. I have a problem. And the long story is that it just sort of seems like the story in the game happens all at once, and I'm like, that's kind of annoying. But also, it might make a little bit of sense because, like, I vaguely remember the idea of like Secret Wars was that like the different multiverses came together, and when they came together and they transported people, sometimes the people's minds, probably most of the time, the people's minds would be like kind of altered, and it feels like they've just lived in this new combined universe the whole time.
Mm.
So like that might be why they just sort of like gloss over stuff. It's because as far as the people know, they've been doing this their whole lives. It's not new to them.
Yes. Yes.
But I don't know if that's actually happening in the video game or whatever. But I said that it's also bad that even if it is, because one of the major points of Secret Wars was seeing the people like forget who they really were and seeing the repercussions and effects of that. That was what made it interesting.
Mm.
Um, so basically, because you're talking about Secret Wars, I'm saying that I didn't read Secret Wars, but based on all the stuff I just said, the two things that made Secret Wars good, as far as I understand it, was watching the effects of everyone forget who they were and having to live in this new C universe and seeing how that happened. And the second thing was watching Doctor Doom flex really hard.
Yes. And have a normal face. Or at
I was
least
wondering if any of that was even
not a
remotely
normal
accurate.
face. I mean, no, he gets a normal face after everything reboots itself in the Marvel universe. After Fantastic
Oh
Four
yeah,
leave, he gets a normal face thanks to Reed as a farewell gift. In late 2018, the Fantastic Four are reunited, and as Ben eloquently said, that they came back, and Frank and Val and all the kids of the Future Foundation were like in their early teens. So Franklin is probably what 14 or 15 years old, and Valeria is probably 13, I would think, 12 or 13, going by. Well, you can't really go by what you see drawing wise because it's kind of hard to determine how old they are because characters don't really say their age because it's a moving timeline and everything. So but approximately 5 years have passed their time when they were traveling the multiverse and recreating it with Franklin's and the Molecule Man's powers. And now Franklin is a moody teenager, with Valeria being kind of snarky in her own way, but still like holding on, like, but still has like that whole I can outpace my dad, but I still need to get experience kind of thing. Because she's the good child, as Sue says, because Franklin's moody.
hmm,
And they go by code names. They go by code names now. Franklin is now Powerhouse, not Black Man, Luke Cage Powerhouse from the 70s. He just Powerhouse now. And Valeria is Brainstorm.
cool.
Yes, and due to everything, quick notes: Ben got married to Alicia, so now she is part of the extended Fantastic Four family. But she always has been more or less because she is the godmother to Franklin, and I guess Valeria too. And another side note: Doctor Doom is Valeria's godfather. Just want to put that out there. So, um, they battled Doctor Doom. They beat it. They kicked his ass after a minute. Along with another story established that Franklin can be a dick because he was a dick to Alicia at some point, but they kind of were able to mend fences. And oh right, and a most important factor with Franklin right now, he's apparently losing his powers. His powers are
Again,
yes, his powers are now becoming exhausted. So
hmm,
so it's very rarely he doesn't go full on force with his powers because every time he uses it, a part of it is drained. And then there's this big theory that came out recently in a story in 2-in-1 and then in X-Men versus Fantastic Four 2020 that there is a secret DNA thing there's like a secret kind of DNA structure called the God Force which every hero is connected to, and for some odd reason, theoretically, he's disconnected to it. Like so, like as much as like Reed and everyone else can utilize their powers, For some odd reason, his connection to this alleged thing is cut, more or less. It's only a theory, though.
Weird.
It's like a dimension where all powers are held, and when something happens to you, you are connected to this god source.
Weird.
I know, right? But I can't help but be fascinated. I am actually much more better at typing it up. I have a blog about it, which I might try to connect to this video, maybe. If you want to really hear my thoughts on that story, it's more coherent. This is why I only do these things rarely, because I'm not really good at this shit. Sorry, really. I'm not even sure if
I
I'm
mean
explaining it correctly. I feel bad now.
that is like just the naming conventions of that make it feel like I don't know, make it feel like a Franklin restarting the universe story, a la Akira, Evangelion, and that one egg glitch from Pokemon.
Well, technically speaking, it's been said that Franklin will be one of the last main people of the universe to see a birth of a new universe.
Plus that other guy who nobody cares
Galactus.
about.
Oh, Galactus?
No, there's some sort of unkillable dude from like a D plot line group of fucking Avengers that like had a comic for 5 seconds and then got canceled.
But what I know about this Avengers comic?
I don't know. All I know is that it existed before I read the new version, and I read the new version, thought it was funny, but then it just fell off the face of the earth. It got canceled.
Of course.
I want to say it was East Coast Avengers.
West Coast Avengers.
No, that wasn't Hawkeye. It was a bunch of other people who I have never heard of before.
Oh wait, that diverse Avengers with Rogue and Deadpool.
Nope.
No, okay.
Again, these are like Z-listers of people that I had never heard prior and
Oh
I've never seen
what's it
again.
called? Like, did it have like random characters like D Great Iron Man who was a lady named Cho or some shit like that?
You're thinking of USA Avengers, and I'm saying even further down the list than that.
Fuck. Okay.
Their
Jesus.
leader was Flat Man, who was the Reed Richards, but flat and not smart.
That group. That group. They were introduced in well, hopefully there's they're like knockoff Fantastic Four characters in a way.
Yeah, but I vaguely remember there's one dude who can't die, and like his backstory is that like he also got the "you'll be one of the last people alive during Armageddon" nods, and I'm like, I bet he won't, just because no one's gonna remember he exists.
Pretty much. Oh, right. The Fantastic Four currently live on Yancey Street.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh wait, should I also ask about how Doctor Doom was the good guy for like 5 seconds?
I'm aware of that one. I actually read it.
I read parts of it.
It pretty much doesn't amount to anything. Bendis at the end, and it just no one cares about it anymore.
I don't like how the Marvel Devil told me that he didn't like my internet history and I was going to be seeing him soon.
Yes. The thing is, and that they never, and the writers might have forgotten about the fact that he might have gotten a scientist lady pregnant.
You left me with a child that you whatever. In all honesty, I forgot.
Exactly. No one has ever brought that up again. Currently, no one has said anything about Doom getting this woman pregnant, and apparently it could be Doom's or Tony Stark's, but I truly doubt Tony Stark fucked this woman. I kind of have a I kind of don't really think highly of the Avengers right now. So,
I mean, that's fair. They're taking all of the spotlight away from things you like.
I mean, yes. But this is really supposed to be about Frank and Valeria explanation. So, pretty much, the X-Men vs. Fantastic Four updated version came out recently, but the fate of Franklin Richards, pretty much all that needed to be happened, they needed to just let Franklin become his own man. Reed fucked up. There's a lot of good action. Susan Richard was pretty much the MVP because she held down against Magneto in a fight, and I loved it. No one fucking cares about Johnny Storm. I know I didn't. He just makes things worse, in my opinion. And when it comes to like diplomacy or talking it out, the we Ben Grimm is always awesome. He was really more just for I want the best for I want the best for my godson, and you fucked up, Reed. And yeah. So, but pretty much are able to. So pretty much now, Franklin can go to Krakoa to explore his mutant roots and like learn how to harness his powers more better. Because when he's on Krakoa, the depletion of his powers is slowed immensely. Apparently, we don't know why, but we'll see what happens in the future.
Yes.
But he is still classified as an Omega level mutant. His powers include, psychic abilities, powerful burst, powerful blast. He can probably, if he wanted to, he could most likely teleport because it's like reality warping. Apparently, that's what he does, but he rarely does it. But apparently that power has like diminished, or if not, just vanished right now.
I went back in time and bought a plane ticket.
Well, yeah, I don't. He hasn't time traveled yet, but he has yeah, he hasn't time traveled yet, from what I saw. But he can fire concussive, powerful blast and punch people very powerful, like punch people hard with his powers.
He punches people real good.
Yes, powerhouse. Um, and he can fly, of course, if he wanted to. But yeah, but that's his current power set right now. Valeria, interestingly enough, is not a mutant. She just has genius level intellect.
Cool.
But the thing is, her intellect far surpasses Reed and Doctor Doom, and she does now is aware of Luna from Moon Girl, and they kind of got a nice rivalry going on to see who's smarter. Because Valeria saying, "Girl, I was here before you. Back off." No, actually, I am this level of intellect, and I got this down. And Valeria's like, "Bitch, I'll kick your ass. We're gonna determine who's the smartest girl ever. All right, I ain't gonna be outclassed by you." That's my own interpretation of their relationship currently. And
I
fucking
was here first. You were gone for 2 years, so someone had to fill the void.
pretty much. um but apparently they all get along. They get along swimmingly. Apparently, off panel.
Surprised that fucking Nadia didn't try and jump in on that. I haven't actually read her newer comic.
I don't think no one acknowledges Nadia anymore.
That's sad.
It is when you make these new characters just because of the movies. Wow, who would have thought they would have hit a dead end?
Nadia was made because of the movies.
And I would think so because her outfits seem similarly to Evangeline's character.
Oh, all right.
Oh, right, you don't watch the MCU movies, do you?
I don't. I should.
That's gonna be something. Um, but we are.
I mean, how many? Actually, come to think of it, the only Marvel movies I really watched was Iron Man. That's because he's like a baby giant robot.
Yes,
I actually love those movies just because of the effects. It looks so cool.
I can't really say I hold the Iron Man in any kind of high regard, but yes. And this is before my Avengers exhaustion. I really never put Iron Man in any kind of fucking pedestal.
I'm not saying that like the writing's good. I'm saying that the fucking robot suit fighting shit looks amazing.
Yeah, it does. If I think about it, yeah.
Love it.
Mm. I'm surprised you didn't watch Ant-Man then, if you like suits.
I said robot suit, not like elastic suit with a metal helmet.
Oh, excuse me. I didn't know there was a fucking difference.
There's a huge difference.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm not really much of a mech head like you are.
Yeah, good point. Fair enough.
Yes. So pretty much that is the gist of Frank and Valeria Richards and who they are. And me trying to explain to Ben with random information that I'm aware of.
Who randomly wandered off after this conversation.
Yes, which I would expect you should just listen to the YouTube video, which will be updated sooner or later and everything,
Fair enough.
and yeah, to hear like whatever you missed. But yes, the kids are now teenagers, and now currently, Ben and Alicia pretty much have gotten two kids of themselves.
Wait, what?
They are now the
Oh, you're talking about. I got confused because I forgot Valeria's name and Frank's middle name is Ben. Okay.
yes, but now Benjamin J. Grimm and Alicia Masters Grimm. They are currently the caretakers to a Kree and a Skrull children.
This reminds me of a comic where it's like Reinhardt from Overwatch with Diva and Lucio. But if for anyone who just doesn't know who that is, basically a really big old dude and just two younger characters, and it's just them, and he's like holding Lucio and Diva in his arms, and he's like, "Whose kids are these?" And he like looks around, and the last panel, he's like, "My kids now."
Oh, cool. That's okay. But yeah, they become foster parents or adoptive parents to these two kids after the Empire thing happened recently. So this will have a major big impact on the Fantastic Four in future comics.
Yep.
But I'm enjoying Fantastic Four as a whole. And I did briefly touch up on this in this whole background thing, but I do believe, in my opinion, the end of the Fantastic Four with the X-Men corresponded with the fact that Marvel didn't want to, they didn't have the rights, so they pretty much said, fuck them, cut them out. We will make the Inhumans the new mutants and make the Avengers all knowing and shit. And everyone fuck the X-Men until, oh, we got them. Okay, we got to get all the toys back and get everything back to normal. So we'll bring back Jean Grey. We're going to bring back Logan. We're going to bring back Cyclops. It's going to be this, we got to get back all the toys, right? And they did. And the Fantastic Four came back too, so now everything's somewhat better with the Marvel Universe as a whole. I do stand by that the Fantastic Four is not boring. No matter what people say about it, I believe strong-heartedly that if you are a fan of this group, you know that they're not supposed to be the big, bad superhero team like the Avengers in your face and gods like Thor's Thunder and Iron Man's Blast and Captain America's Justice or bulky She-Hulk, who I'm not really a big fan of because I miss.
Nobody is.
I'm sorry, I miss sexy She-Hulk. She at least had humor and wit.
Yeah, it's not about her body. It's about the fact that she's a fucking brick now. And
Yes,
before she was like an interesting person.
yes. What happened to the lawyer? Like, oh, I'm in my form, but I can take care of this. I got your back.
Yeah, no, like she was like also if you've read the comic where like and I haven't. I've only read bits and pieces of it,
Mm,
like where she goes from regular Jennifer Walters to whatever she is now.
yeah.
It's like she does it because Bruce died and becomes afraid and shit. And I'm like,
Yes.
well, that sucks because old Jennifer Walters was a symbol of like being yourself, standing up against prejudice, not taking any shit from anyone, and supporting the little people. And she's the opposite now, and that's terrible.
Yeah. It's very sad.
Like she like leaves her like retro 50s little building where a bunch of superheroes work.
Ah, the Hellcat years, and yeah, that was fun. Being,
Yeah, and
being
she like goes and joins a big corporate office. I'm just sort of like, and they don't bring that up. And it's
never.
just sort of like,
They'll never bring their powers in
uh,
the Avengers.
which is a shame.
Yes.
But I'm just sort of like, why? Because it's like that was like a positive point of her character. It was like, she did this so that she wouldn't have to coincide with all the bullshit that can come with her job. And it's like now she's just like, I accept the bullshit. It's safer. And I'm like, that's a weak character choice. She's like, I've been through things, don't judge me. And I'm like, and you've let them change you for the worse. That's a terrible moral.
Well,
Um,
some people will disagree with that. I'm aware because oh, the stories about the Hulk is better currently.
who says that?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you off recording. I don't want to be. I won't tell you who, but it's interesting.
You're right. We shouldn't. If people have that opinion, that's fair. They have that opinion, and we shouldn't talk down about people. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm not talking down to the people who just sing the Fantastic Four. I just don't agree with their fucking opinions about that shit. The Fantastic Four was pretty much my saving grace, and I do have a connection because I was bullied in my middle school years, and that goes into it. And it was my saving grace growing up before I got out of it and came back to it years later, and I can appreciate it more and the team, and that we lost them. Marvel fucked them over doing this all new, all different shit until they got them back and trying to be better with it. And YouTubers and some people saying, "Oh, it's boring," and they're not fucking boring. It's just not for you. Don't you dare be demeaning something that you pretty much have also said about. We lost the Fantastic Four. They need to be brought back. They're brought back. Oh, it's fucking boring. What the fuck do you mean? Make up
What do you
your goddamn
want?
mind. What the fuck?
There's actually something that I really, 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 really want to say though.
Go.
As far as the building that Jen Walter just kind of left behind,
Yes.
there was still a story about that actually.
Okay.
Hellcat was still going at the time, and they were like, "Well, she's just gonna leave," and it's like, "Yeah." So they actually had a plot about how like they had to come up with new businesses to survive, like just being abandoned by Jen.
Oh no.
Yeah, and then also because Hellcat and her are friends, she wasn't like upset about it. She's like, Jen's going through a lot of stuff, and we can't rely on her. We're gonna have to rely on ourselves.
Oh yeah, I read
But
that.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, so part of me is like, I wonder if they ever like. She's like, I'm back in this old building. I hope that they remember that, and they're just like, when she gets back there, everyone's just gonna be like, "Oh, it's you! Look, everybody, it's Jen. She's back." Fucking bitch. Left us all for dead. We became a temp agency. Did you hear that?
Yes.
It's actually really, really great, and it's kept us afloat. But I mean, we wouldn't have had to go through those hard times if you hadn't, abandoned us.
Oh, Hellcat. Sadly, no one mentions Hellcat anymore, and it's so disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, it was good, but it's also gotten to a point where I realized like it's not just because like Hellcat was good. I don't know if Hellcat was always good. I've actually never read Hellcat before this.
It was more the writers that made make the story
Yeah,
interesting.
whoever made that, I don't know, what do we call it, a volume or season?
Version that
Whoever wrote that Hellcat, they were awesome.
yes, they were. They were indeed.
Um, but yeah, so basically that place is actually still active. Howard the Duck and Hellcat still have businesses there, but no one's written a story about them for a bit, so it's out of the consciousness. Much like Howard the Duck and Hellcat.
Yes, because it's all about the X-Men and Avengers now, and maybe a little bit Fantastic Four and Spider-Man and whatever other heroes are out in prominent, like Black Panther or something, I guess.
Yep.
But that's pretty much it. But sorry about my rant about the hate against the Fantastic Four comic and saying it's boring. It's not. It's very entertaining. You just have to be in the niche. The real fans know that it's actually good, and I would want anyone who likes them, to believe that it's like. Don't listen to anyone that says it's boring. Seriously, it ruins everything about it, and you'll get upset, and then you'll hold this grudge against them for saying, "Well, I still remember you said this shit, and I do not. I will forget. I will not forgive this shit." Blasphemy.
real fan seems like sort of a loaded word,
I
like a
know.
trip mine
I
that you're
sound
going
like
to
a
place
gay
under your
people.
own
I
feet.
know. I know.
But no, I get what you mean by that. It's just sort of like people are like, it sucks out, and you're like, it's the exact same and it's new. Shut up.
Exactly.
I mean, like, I get like, actually, come to think of it, I have that problem with video games all the time. People just sort of like, I don't know, they're like, they get upset that something hasn't changed, and it's like, it doesn't need to change. Uh, like, I don't know if any of this is even on topic or not, but basically, like, the idea of making a video game and then putting out the exact same game or all the gameplay and all the mechanics are the exact same, but then, changing other things like characters, story, and setting is seen as bad.
Hmm.
And I'm like, why? I love this game. I'd love to play more of it in a new setting. I don't see why this is considered bad.
Hmm.
So I feel like that's me trying to trying to like I forgot the word, but basically trying to say that I understand what you're saying, but it's just not coming out real good.
Oh no, it's fine. I get what you're saying.
All right.
Cool. So we're like 55 minutes in, so I think this is the perfect way to end it. So, what are my final words on the matter? Frank and Val are a are a good future. They got a good future going on for being the future generation for the Fantastic Four, and I do think Franklin's powers will stabilize at some point, and I am forever gonna be one curious about what their future holds. And I also have a secret theory that I think the Invisible Woman should get pregnant again with one more kid, but I know that's kind of misogynistic because oh yeah, of course, make her the baby maker and get one more kid out of the matter. Yeah, she's like really. I mean, not it doesn't downplay Invisible Woman's uh attributes in the least, but whenever there was I will admit you gotta admit, whenever there was a young kid like in danger, one of her children in danger, she pretty much would wreck all of the Earth to make sure they are protected.
Yeah.
What she did in the X-Men Fantastic Four comic book too. But if she had like another baby, though, I think it would be just interesting to have one more kid who really might be just the normal kid. Like, oh, my older brother and sister, they're like powerful and they're genius, and I'm like the average one. There's nothing fantastic about me. I don't know what legacy I will bring for my parents and my uncles and my aunt.
The Human Torch is my godfather.
I don't care for John. I really do not care for Johnny. I
I
really
was
don't.
trying I was trying to say that as like a mark of their normalcy. It's sort of like, yeah, I got that guy. Like they're the
Yeah.
same. They're
Yeah.
the dud.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Ben. Yes, Ben. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My uncle Johnny. He's all right, but eh,
I take the most after him. Why do you say that so sad?
doesn't really matter. And the kid's just a gloomy guy, like a gloomy Gus at 6 or 7 years old or something.
Shut up.
And then I don't know. He's just kind of like a full known kid. Like there's nothing wrong with him physically. It's just that I'm the average member of my family. I don't even have
Why do you
powers.
want this?
What are you asking me or the kid?
You.
Why do I want this?
Yeah.
And it would be interesting. I mean, they're fantastic, and we got an average kid who will probably be like, I don't know. I could come up with a storyline for him to make him like him or her like be very more prominent.
No, fair enough. It just sounds interesting. I get that.
Yeah, because like he's like the average one. Franklin thinks he's the average one, but no, it's in my continuity, in my canon, his little brother and Valeria's little brother is just average. I don't
I'm the
think
normal one. Can't you rewrite reality? I feel like of all of you, Ben is the normal one.
exactly. And it'll just be interesting that Sue and Reed try to maneuver around this new kid and everything. Like Reed's talking like science mumbo jumbo, and he just says, "Dad, I don't get that. I'm 7. I'm not like Valeria, Dad. I like going to school." And
Yeah.
Mom, I know, and Mom means well. I think I'm more closer to Mom. I can't be close to you, Dad. I have issues with Dad. It'll be a thing.
Yes.
But that's beside the point. But anyway, that's just that's where I'm gonna end it. My theory of the Invisible Woman and Mr. Fantastic having a third kid. It will never happen, but who knows what the future holds. So I am Jeff. Um,
Yes.
and this is Ben.
See ya.
See ya.